What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the juice. So if you guys aren't familiar, if you guys are new to the channel, the juice is basically my recap video of the previous tournament that we just fished. So we just wrapped up stage 4 on the Bass Pro Tour at Lake Eufaula, Oklahoma. So we're going to dive in, talk all about baits, patterns, rods, reels, line, you know, everything that went down, really the juice from my tournament at Lake Eufaula. Like I said, if you guys are new to the channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. You know, we're really trying to grow this channel. We're pumping out 3 videos a week right now. And I really appreciate all you guys hitting the subscribe button and always commenting. I see you guys always commenting, clicking the links in the description, which reminds me, this video, the juice, is presented by Fish USA. Fish USA is a huge online tackle retailer. They got all the tackle you could need for fishing, not just bass fishing, for fishing. Everything's available there at Fish USA, and we're going to have direct links in the description down below for all this tackle and equipment that we talk about here. And Fish USA really appreciates and sees you guys clicking on those links. It really helps me, it helps the channel. So if you guys are looking for a way to support us and support the channel, make sure you're checking those links in the description, clicking those, and using those links when you buy your tackle over at Fish USA. So, all right, if you guys are ready, let's jump in. Let's talk about Lake Eufaula, Oklahoma. Okay, Lake Eufaula, Oklahoma. Man, that was one of the toughest tournaments I've fished, maybe in my whole career, if not in a very long time. I mean, really, so we show up there for practice, and things are looking good. Our first day of practice, you know, things are fairly stable. There's plenty of clean water. The fish were biting decently. You know, I didn't catch a ton, but I caught, you know, a handful of fish. And, you know, talking to the roommates and some other guys, you know, it was fishing pretty decent for everybody. And then the night after the first day of practice, so going into the second morning of practice, I mean, all heck broke loose. Where there was a giant rainstorm that came through, brought tornadoes. We had multiple tornadoes throughout the day on that second day of practice, and it dumped a ton of rain. I don't know the official number, 3, 4, 5 inches of rain. And you know, Lake Eufaula is a big lake that's fed by multiple rivers and a bunch of runoff creeks. So instantly, all that water come flooding into the lake. It rose the water level up 4 feet from where we started the first day of practice. And with that, just muddy, orange, red water and just nasty looking water. So, you know, I knew going into the tournament or finishing practice that things were going to be constantly changing and evolving. And, you know, pretty much going to take that first day of practice and just throw it out the door and kind of start fresh and kind of build as the tournament goes on. So, you know, we finish up our final 2 days of practice. I caught a couple fish in the rising muddy water, but never really dialed anything in extremely well. So I was pretty much set on just starting fresh to start the tournament. So, you know, on the first day of practice, I actually got a couple bites right close to the boat ramp. You know, it's a fairly popular area there, Eufaula Cove, where the tournaments go out of. A lot of fish get let go there from tournaments. So I decided, you know, it's probably a good idea, good strategy-wise, to just start my tournament in that area, kind of spend the whole first period in that area, just kind of feel things out. You know, if the fishing's going to be tough, you might as well fish and put your bait in areas where you know that fish live and just kind of figure out where they're setting up in that area. So that was kind of my plan going into the tournament. I started right there close to takeoff. And really within the first 20 minutes, I caught one on a spinnerbait. So this is just a, you know, like a double willow spinnerbait. You know, there was some shad spawning in and around the rocks, the bushes. You know, the water come up 4 feet. So all these willow trees and bushes that were literally on dry land up on the bank, those are now submerged 2-3 foot of water. And, you know, all the shad are trying to spawn, so they eased their way up in. They started spawning in all these bushes. So, you know, I picked up a spinnerbait and just started throwing it against or next to all those bushes. And really, like I said, it was probably within the first 20 minutes or so that I got a bite. I caught one, and I was like, okay, this is good. I got a bite. I can kind of build on this. And I rolled with that for the rest of the first period, and I never had another bite. You know, fishing was so tough. And looking at the score tracker, I really wasn't that far out of it with just that one fish. You know, I was still in decent shape. So I was like, okay, let's kind of move down the lake. So I made a run down towards the dam, a very popular area where a lot of guys were fishing. A little bit cleaner water, not crystal clear, but a little bit clearer water. And I just kind of got into this area and I was like, I'm just going to fish around, fish everything I see in this area, and just try and scrounge up a couple bites. So I got onto this one particular stretch and I started flipping. So I was flipping just a black and blue jig. And what happened was I flipped into a couple of these bushes and I'm pulling my jig up to wind in or to get over like a limb on the bush, and a fish chased it up and missed it. So instantly, you know, in my head, I'm like, man, I should probably be throwing like a swim jig through this. So I'm looking around, digging in my boat, and this is kind of comes back on me. I wasn't fully prepared. I didn't even have any swim jigs in the boat the first day of the tournament. I had nothing. So literally I'm sitting down in the boat trying to figure out what I can do, and I end up pulling out a flipping jig that I was flipping, pulling the skirt off, and I pulled a skirt off of a spinnerbait. I had a chartreuse and white skirt that I could get off of a spinnerbait. I took that off of there and rigged it up onto this jig and started flipping that and more kind of swimming that, and I ended up catching 2 more keepers, and I missed a couple more on that as well. So, you know, I ended up catching 3 fish the first day. I think I was in like 24th place, so like I was decently, you know, in the running in the tournament. You know, easily could have made up some ground and made a check, and was really only a few pounds off making the cut with how tough things were. So, you know, I kind of felt good going into day 2. I was like, I'm going to get some swim jigs. I ended up borrowing a swim jig off of Spencer, so I came prepared for the second day, had a good swim jig rigged up and ready, and you know, go out the second day and basically went back to that same area that I caught some fish that first afternoon. I was like, I'm just gonna put my trolling motor down and I'm gonna fish everything in this area. So basically I picked up a spinnerbait and a swim jig and just threw it exclusively for like the whole first period. And I think I scrounged up 2 fish. So I was like, okay, that's, you know, got a couple bites, you know, fishing on the, you know, the 2 shad imitating baits. Let's, you know, try and expand on it. You know, the conditions kind of changed. So the sun got up and it was getting a little bit brighter. So I kind of felt like maybe the moving bait bite was going away. So I kind of wanted to slow down and kind of flip some bushes and, you know, kind of slow down with like a wacky worm. And I ended up, I caught a non-scoreable fish at 11:15, and I kept my bait in the water from 11:15 until 3:50 before I got another bite. So I went almost, 5 hours without a bite during the tournament, and I was fishing all good, productive water. I mean, I threw a wacky rig Cinco for 2 hours straight and never caught a bass, which it's just mind-blowing to me, you know, how tough a fishery can be. And when I know there was fish in the area, you know, looking back, watching the rest of the tournament on live, you know, I literally watched guys catch some fish in those areas. But, you know, it just wasn't my week. Didn't work out. We ended up missing a check, obviously missing the knockout round. I think we ended up 27th in my group, which, you know, so I was 7 spots away from making a check. But could have been worse for sure. You know, we caught a few fish. Like I said, spinnerbait, that probably caught the most for me during the tournament. You know, I'd really planned on catching them flipping in those bushes and flipping a tube. If you guys know me, you know I really love flipping a tube. I caught a few fish in the bushes in practice, flipping a tube. So I just kind of picked up a bait I'm confident in. This is the Big Bite Baits salt tube in the 1099 color. So basically it's a black and blue with a green pumpkin tail. And then rigging it on the Trocar tube hook. So that's a very unique hook right there. You know, it looks very weird in your hand, but once it's rigged up in that tube, it looks very natural, and it helps the tube kind of swim, glide through those bushes like that. So, you know, I really like that rig right there, and I really expected to catch some more fish on that right there. I really am mind blown why I did not catch any more fish on that, but I really expected to catch them on a tube. And then also I expected to be able to just go down the bank. You know, like I said, I had a couple bites in practice cranking just down some rock banks as that water came up. You know, I was just throwing this guy here. This is the Bill Lewis MR6. No, I'm sorry, this is not the MR6. This is the SB57 square bill. It's a, you know, a pretty hard thumping square bill. It's got that circuit board lip, so it really thumps wide action, deflects off cover well. You can see I about ground the bill off of him, but I really expected to catch some more fish doing that. But you know, looking back at it, I can kind of see what happened as those fish kind of moved up into those bushes, and really they were trying to spawn up there in those bushes, so they weren't actually in the cover of the bush. They were more in the little open areas next to it. And you know, if you watched live coverage, or you know, you can go back and watch some of it, the main thing I noticed is a lot of those fish bit in more the gaps in between the bushes. And me, I was more flipping the jig and the swim jig like more into the heart of those bushes, thinking those fish might be hiding in the shade, but they were actually getting up there to spawn, and they wanted to be in those more open areas where the sun was actually hitting. So that's kind of where I screwed up, but you know, overall it was a great learning experience. I feel like I made good decisions. I put myself in good areas. It just didn't quite work out. And you know, that's going to happen sometimes. You know, you just keep making those decisions that you feel like are the right ones, and eventually it's going to work out. So this was a big learning experience for me. Hopefully you guys learned something from my experience. Hopefully we can portray that. If you guys got any questions about the tackle, leave them in the comments below. Man, so this was 3 tough ones in a row, so we decided to get rid of the stash. We're clean shaven. We got to try and change the juju. So, you know, I missed 3 knockout rounds in a row now on the Bass Pro Tour and Red Crest. So I decided it was strike 3. It's time to change up the juju a little bit. So we kind of shaved up clean. We're getting ready for Heavy Hitters will be the next tournament down in Kissimmee, Florida. So that'll be a good one. But hopefully you guys learned something from this video. Like I said, check those links in the description down below. Leave me those likes and comments, and we'll see you guys next time.